Yeah, I saw this Vice video about how the sugar industry keeps you hooked, so let's watch it.
Type 2 diabetes, hypertension, lipid problems, cardiovascular disease, cancer, dementia.
The list of medical problems.
To start this off, I want to say that I don't think that it's necessarily the sugar that is killing us, but our addiction and our inability to regulate ourselves that's killing us. I have a lot of regulative problems. I have ADHD, and my brain is always looking for dopamine, but that might be because I've been raised in a world full of dopamine. It's very complicated.
Problems tied directly to the food we're being marketed.
We are actually making ourselves sicker by eating the processed food that the food industry has told us is good for us.
Totally.
The industry doesn't have to tell us how much they've processed the food we're eating. The USDA released the first mandatory nutrition labels on food in 1990. By listing ingredients only, they masked what processing was doing to the product.
Problem is, it's not what's in the food, it's what's been done to the food. And you could not tell the difference between sugar that's, say, in fruit versus that which the company added.
As refined sugar becomes a key ingredient in almost everything, America sees.
And that is super true. I've noticed that as I've cut down on my refined sugar and don't take as much of it in, my desire for constant sugar has gone down as well. And a lot of the times, the reason that I've had trouble losing weight in the past is because I am constantly looking for some kind of mouth pleasure. It's an escapism thing. A lot of people, myself included, have issues with addiction. And I'm not talking about drugs, although that can be a problem and rear its head as well. But everything from eating sugar to jerking off to everything can be an addiction. Anything that lets you escape from your reality in some kind of way in moments of overflowing dopamine can be really dangerous for people that can't self-regulate well.
He's a skyrocketing number of diabetes cases, affecting more than 30 million today.
Terrified of getting diabetes.
The condition can also lead to heart problems, kidney disease, nerve damage, even amputation. Dentists also begin to see an epidemic of tooth decay.
So many people I know have lost their teeth before they're 30. It's brutal.
Exactly what Kristen Kern saw. She's a pediatric dentist who uncovered the hidden history of the big sugar lobby through more than a decade of painstaking research.
As a dentist, I know that the sugar industry has really infiltrated into my profession for a very long time. They've sponsored dozens and dozens and dozens of scientific projects between the 40s and the 70s.
It's pretty common knowledge at this point that a lot of the demonization of fat was actually a scapegoat for the sugar lobby, and that a lot of things were told to us as being unhealthy when the sugar was actually the big problem. And we do consume a lot of sugar. It's in everything.
And over 300 publications, and I think we've only scratched the surface on telling the story of what the sugar industry's been up to behind the scenes.
That's wild to think
Kearns
about.
became an authority on sugar after first hearing the industry tell its big lie at a dental conference in 2007.
I was given a brochure by one of the keynote speakers about how dentists could help manage type 2 diabetic patients, and it didn't say anything about reducing sugar.
Who's got money to go to a dentist? I'm sorry, but if we're talking about people who are taking advantage of a system, dentists who are charging so much money for x-rays, knowing that most health insurance does not cover dental work, are definitely taking advantage of a system.
And then a second keynote speaker
Is that too much?
ranked
I don't know.
Lipton Brisk Sweet Tea, which had 44 grams of sugar, as a healthy drink.
LOL.
And I actually chased him down and said, how can you possibly say sweet tea is healthy? And his answer to me was, there is no evidence linking sugar to chronic disease.
No. I don't know for sure that that's true. That very well could be true, that there's no evidence linking it. There are correlations, and an excess of calories is definitely linked to diseases.
And I was literally stunned. I had no words. Tooth decay is the #1 chronic disease in children. You know, how could you possibly say sugar's not linked to chronic disease? So I started to wonder, had the sugar industry influenced what I was hearing? at this
Of course
dental
they have.
conference.
Kearns began research.
This is something that I love in the modern America, because I grew up, for whatever reason, being super distrusting of government. I grew up in a very Christian household, and the law of the Bible is what we followed, not the law of the world around us. So when you grow up like that and you come out into the world, as I have, you start to look around you and realize that there are a lot of strange things going on that, because people were raised in them, they don't see them as being strange. And what you see a lot of times is that people who were in the occult, in the cult of the normal, the world as it is, as it's told to us, believing in the history of the U.S., believing that we're just batting 100 and telling the truth constantly, they have these moments where something wakes them up, and then they become radicalized to the other side, and they go around trying to find all the evidence, and those people end up looking crazy because they're out there. Do you know what they're doing to us? Yeah, we know. We're sitting and we've known this. We've been talking about it forever, and you just caught on. How about you sit down at the meeting and let some people who have been here for 20 years talk a little bit?
Searching the sugar industry and stumbled upon an industry how-to guide for deceiving the public.
I typed in sugar to my local library catalog and found records to the Great Western Sugar Company. I'd never heard of the Great Western Sugar Company. I started looking through the finding aid and found these boxes with references to nutrition and policy. I couldn't believe that I'd found that, but I happened to be the first one to look at these confidential sugar industry documents just sitting unexplored in this collection.
Kearns
Why would
had
anyone
in
look
her
it up?
hands the smoking gun.
This is really cool, though. She is a very educated person who, when woken up to this concept, finally went and discovered a whole bunch of stuff, and that's really cool. That's the power of education. I often think that the CIA's job isn't to control things in America, but to create people who are always looking around and trying to see the issues and solving those issues. They're looking for the corruption and the problems, and they're just out there in the world floating around, and they have the tools to be able to solve the problems. And that's the real export of the CIA.
Records of a
And the
secret
FBI.
campaign by the trade group representing cane and beet sugar.
And this was a public relations campaign that set out to influence the Food and Drug Administration, who at the time was about.
If you want a system that really works, what you do is you train people within the system to correct the system. So a lot of times, disobeying orders, doing what people in your group might see as the wrong thing, it actually is the right thing. It's actually the job that you're supposed to be doing.
Evaluating the safety of sucrose for the first time in the 1970s. So all of the documents I found showed how the sugar industry influenced that FDA report.
They also showed how
A lot
the
of
sugar
money in it.
industry was mirroring the successful campaign to shape government policy and public opinion launched.
If you want to start a small business that does really well, sell sugar. Sell sugar. Sell it. It's cheap. Even if you make crappy cookies, people will buy them. Food sells extremely well at all events. I once saw a business where people made stuffed cookies, and they say, we stayed up late last night making all these cookies. Meanwhile, I had been working for 2 weeks to get products together. They show up, they sell everything in 2.5 hours of a 9-hour event, and then they leave. Made more money than we made that day. Just selling stuffed cookies. Bam, easy. Chocolate chip cookie with an Oreo inside of it. Bam, sell them all. Thousands of dollars. One day, 3 hours. Worked late last night making them all. That's it.
by Big Tobacco
Sugar.
decades earlier.
Sugar and tobacco companies definitely use the same strategies. And it's all about casting doubt on that evidence, linking a product to any kind of harmful effects, and then pairing that together with a
I can't
PR
believe people still
campaign
smoke.
to get the message out.
We have Zins now. Why are you smoking? Put a Zin in. Be civil.
What cigarette do you smoke, Doctor?
The brand named most was Camel. Yes, surveys show more doctors smoke Camels than any other
I smoked
cigarette.
Camels as a
Smoke
kid.
Camels, the
Camel
cigarette
Wides,
so many
baby.
doctors enjoy. The world's most thoroughly tested filter. That's Snow Fresh Filter Cool.
Cool.
Kearns uncovered how
That's
the
what a couple
sugar
cools in my
industry
time.
laid its own trap to deceive.
Go to certain parties, you know?
The sugar industry was very good at following a line that tobacco industry has done quite well in, which is to obfuscate science.
How the sugar industry paid experts to downplay health risks.
The sugar industry paid scientists to find either that sugar had very little to do with
Obfuscating science is such a universal thing that happens nowadays. And the way that we're doing it now is by taking away people's scientific literacy. If you notice, most people have no idea how to find facts. And a lot of times, even now, when I'm looking for things on the internet, as someone who has had a long history of being able to find facts, it's harder and harder for me to find facts. So nowadays, I go to search something, and then I go, oh, I can't find this, never mind. But it doesn't make me believe the other thing. I'm just aware that it's being obfuscated from me. It's very easy to control people if they don't know better. The only way that you can fix society is to have vigilance within your people to not believe everything that they see. Because if they believe everything that they see, it's very easy to put on smoke and mirror shows and keep those people in a world of disillusionment. You have to be very careful.
a range of public health outcomes.
Look at all the people who don't believe in calories. Look at the people who are extremely overweight and think that they're eating 900 calories a day. Write it all down. Let me write it all down for you. Guarantee you it's more than that.
Or more successfully, pointed the finger away from sugar towards fat. And that's why you had, through the 1970s,
I used to be 280 pounds. That's how I know.
a very successful deflection by the sugar industry of regulation away from itself
I weigh 193 now.
towards the regulation around the consumption of fat.
Are you making the most of your Marvel? Marvel makes cooking deliciously light and helps keep you looking just right. When used in a
Promising you
calorie-controlled
health
diet.
is always a red flag for me.
So this started the low-fat craze.
The healthiest thing you can do for yourself is to not consume endlessly. Even water, drinking water all day long is a crutch that people have. You need to stay hydrated, but the way that people will kill multiple bottles of water an hour all day long is just because they need to consume constantly.
Of that, skim milk. Turns out that dietary fat was actually good for us. Dietary fat actually suppressed cardiovascular disease.
Yes, the dietary fat was good for us, but if you take people who are drinking a whole bunch of skim milk and then you give them whole fat milk and they continue to drink a bunch of whole fat milk, their calorie consumption will go up like crazy and they'll gain weight. Now, they might feel better. This is the thing that's really interesting about this kind of stuff, is that if you feel better, a lot of times you'll make better choices and you'll do better things for yourself. You might not have the energy to go out for a walk, and then you start drinking whole fat milk and it turns out that you weren't getting enough omega-3s or whatever, and then that fixes something in your brain or in your gut, and then that allows you to feel like going out and taking that walk, so then it can kind of offset itself. And feeling better should be the number one goal for you as somebody who doesn't feel very good. But I've found a lot of times that sort of controlling and feeling better are two sides of the same coin, and you have to tackle them both. A lot of times my life I've fallen out of exercise, I'm not doing the right thing, and then I start eating properly, and then the diet makes me go, oh, I should start exercising. And then I start exercising, and then I start to reach my goals, and I feel better about myself, and I have all this energy, and it's a snowball effect. It keeps rolling up and rolling up.
We took that out. And so basically, we engineered our products to be toxic.
Totally.
And they didn't just make foods that were unhealthy, they actually promoted them as being the better choice.
Try delicious Light and Fit Greek. It's no ordinary non-fat yogurt. Be light and fit and satisfying.
In
With
these
sucralose.
folders,
Just eat Greek
it listed
yogurt.
all of the research projects that they were funding, the scientific consultants that they were working with, the PR firms they hired.
Now, I don't believe that there's anything wrong with eating low-fat foods. A lot of people, I think, have that sort of... You'll see a lot of almond moms out there telling you that, oh, a ribeye and blah, blah, blah. If you're on a calorie deficit and you're someone who likes to eat a lot of food, low-fat foods can be a really good option because you can get more protein and you can get less calories for the same amount of food. So something like a low-fat or a fat-free cheese or a low-fat or fat-free Greek yogurt, you can have a big bowl of Greek yogurt with some peanut butter on top of it, peanut butter powder mixed in, and that can be a really, really healthy option. There's nothing wrong with low-fat foods as long as they don't have a whole bunch of sugar added into them to make up for it.
Ways in which they were connecting with the media to get their messages across. Their strategy was
But the
to
Greek yogurt
publish
that I eat is
science
just
that would be
skim milk.
conflicting with
Just
evidence
fat-free
that might
milk.
be linking sugar to obesity or
added
diabetes
sugar.
or heart disease or tooth decay.
along with paying scientists to write reports in its favor and masking its involvement.
Sugar doesn't make you fat. That is true. You can eat nothing but Skittles, and if you're only eating 1,200 calories a day, then that's totally, you're going to have a model body. But you might feel bad, and you're probably going to eat a lot more food because when you feel bad, you look for dopamine, and when you look for dopamine, a lot of times it's sugar because sugar gives you dopamine.
By hiding
it's complicated.
Funding.
It's really
the
complicated.
Sugar Association
people don't
back.
understand the mechanics that are going on. There's a lot of them, and people find one mechanic out of the 100 that are happening, and then they just proselytize about it. But be careful about who you listen to.
On findings it doesn't like, a strategy that's become common practice in many parts of the food industry.
The food industry has tried to discredit people who get in its way. They have tried to discredit me, hopefully to this point to no avail. But, you know, they have their ways.
The sugar industry definitely comments on anything that I write.
It's a huge industry.
They write a letter to the editor. If I get media attention, they're writing press releases to try and counter what I say.
The sugar industry's done very well in terms of messing about with the science and avoiding regulation. The soda industry is really exhibit A here.
Totally.
A number of initiatives and a number of local ballots across the country tried very hard to...
There's a belief that drinking full-calorie soda is healthier for you than drinking diet soda, and there are countless scientific studies that show that to be wrong. And whenever people try to quote studies that show that to be false, that show that diet soda is actually worse for you than full sugar soda, those studies are always misquoted. If you're drinking a bunch of sugary soda all day and you're at a calorie surplus of 1,400 calories because you're drinking 1,400 calories of soda and you switch to diet soda, you will see health improvements. Should you drink diet soda? Probably not. You probably shouldn't consume a whole bunch of artificial sweeteners. They do things with your gut health, and that can cause problems too. It cycles back around to if you don't feel good, you won't be able to do good. And a lot of times if you have bad gut health, you won't be able to feel good, so you won't be able to do good. So drinking diet soda might not be the best thing in the world for you either, but really you should probably be drinking water. So if you're going to drink one of the two, a lot of times, diet soda is the healthier option, especially if you have diabetes. Drinking diet soda is always going to be recommended to you by your doctor over drinking full sugar soda.
Introduce something.
Because this is the thing. People won't do what's good for them. They're going to do what they're going to do. And if you give them an easier option, sometimes that will be the one that sticks with them. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to improve steadily over time. Erase the bad habits, create better habits. And hopefully over time of you doing that, you will find that place where you can have longevity and health and be a good actor.
Called a soda tax.
The new tax that's leaving a bitter aftertaste is almost a week old.
A small tax, a cent or two per fluid ounce to be able to dissuade consumption and use that money for public health benefits. And they did very well.
The sugar-sweetened beverage tax.
So what does the soda industry do? They lobby very hard.
The American Beverage Association opposing a tax on sugar-sweetened drinks.
It's a bad tax. This tax is only going to hurt.
And successfully.
I feel like I have the right to drink soda, and if I need to gain a few pounds, that's my right.
Even the news media becomes the messenger for big...
Yeah, you do. You do have the right. Now, this also ties back into just needing more money for things, and taxes are a great way to do that, and people buy a lot of soda, so if you want to tax something, soda's a great place to start with it, but no, you definitely have that right. If you want to live a life where you don't feel very good and you drink soda and you eat sugar all the time and you're okay with that, I don't have any problem with that. I don't think that you're any less of a person. I don't think that you're any less of a person if you're overweight. I don't think that you're any less of a person if you smoke cigarettes. I think it's totally okay for you to do what you want. But there might be repercussions from those things, and living in a world where you're lying to yourself about what those repercussions might be is dangerous for you, and especially when you try to bring other people into that thinking, it's dangerous for other people. You have to believe in the science, you have to believe in the factual reality, and going out there and trying to convince other people to be unhealthy as well, just because it makes you feel better about decisions that in the back of your mind you know aren't good for you, is a bad thing. But you can totally do whatever you want. It's totally fine. You're not a bad person for it. It's a really hard world, and I don't begrudge you one bit for doing something that makes you feel good. There's not a lot of those things. Do what you need to be happy. Don't let other people make you feel bad, and don't let other people make you feel bad so that then you go and endanger other people to make yourself feel better. It's not right. You deserve to be happy.
Big Sugar.
The sweetened
Life's
beverage
short.
tax is no more in Cook County.
Come back to Cook County. Spend your money here.
The influence
Had
of
to
the
get rid
sugar
of it.
lobby extends to both the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Food and Drug Administration, the government divisions meant to regulate the industry.
The heads of each of these organizations can come from the industry. They go back to the industry. They make sure that other people from the industry go back into government. And so there is this revolving door that basically keep the USDA and the FDA from being able to be overhauled.
They keep them
It's known
impotent.
as agency capture, and the USDA and the FDA are the most famous.
This is very common in all
capture
lobbying
agencies
tactics.
in American government.
Same thing with agriculture,
In
same thing with
fact, the
technology.
scientific committee that reviewed the dangers of sugar for the FDA was led
Turns
by
out
a
that people
man
who know how
named
things
George
work can get
Murphy.
jobs.
He was also a paid consultant for the sugar industry.
So he was responsible for that safety review of sugar. And that's a common strategy, is to get industry-friendly scientists on these review committees.
It works for the food industry, and ultimately it works for government too, because they make $56 billion off the tariffs each year. The problem is they have not yet equated the cost of the healthcare crisis that they have caused. They see this as a separate silo. So let's do the math on this. The food industry makes...
And that's willful ignorance, I believe. I don't believe that these people actually think that they haven't caused a problem, because if you look at a lot of them, they're very healthy. They're not drinking these things unless they're on camera drinking them. They're out there lying because they know that it will make them money. People will sell their souls to become popular and rich. That's what people do. Do not trust someone who has a vested interest in something on that topic. Don't do it. Be very, very wary. Not everyone's a liar, but there are a lot of liars out there. I don't believe it's the same way that we say all the time, well, can you believe people used to not know that smoking was bad for you? You heard people all the time hacking up lungs and I gotta quit these things. But they didn't. It wasn't until there was a public health push that got rid of smoking finally. And that's only because we demonized it so heavily. But back when you saw everybody doing it, smoking was just a thing.
$1.4 trillion a year, of which $657 billion is gross profit. There's a lot of money riding on this.
Totally.
Healthcare in America cost in 2015 $3.5 trillion.
It's a profit machine.
75% is chronic metabolic disease.
Yep.
Of which 75% of that
is
could
reversible.
be reversed if we went back to the way we ate back in 1970, before this chronic metabolic disease pandemic took off like a moonshot. 75% of 75% of 3.5 trillion.
This kind of food was pitched to us originally as being healthier because it was cleaner. It's processed. It's made in clean factories, not these dirty places that the food that you're eating now is made. Your home is disgusting. Think about all the bacteria in there. These modern factories are super sterile, and it's packaged in high-quality plastic containers that you can throw away afterwards, and blah, 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 blah. Just selling you shit you don't need. That's what they do.
$1 billion is
marketing. They create a reason for you to
going
need something
down
that you
a
don't
rat
need.
hole.
They convince
And
you of it. You
62%
believe it.
Of all healthcare dollars are paid for by the U.S. government.
I'm not immune. This is what your brain does. You're not in control.
That is $1 trillion a year that the government is paying so that the food industry can make its $657 billion.
Yep.
This is unsustainable. And all that happens is that healthcare goes down the tubes, our personal health continues to shorten our lives, and we are immolating the planet in the process. All to keep propped up ultra-processed food.
But it's about human choice, but the problem is that human choice is overridden by advanced marketing tactics. As I get older, I find myself understanding and learning more, but when I can look back to the way that I used to be and remember that I was so easily taken advantage of, and still am in a lot of ways. Like I said, I'm not immune. You have to control what goes in order to control what goes out, but most people aren't thinking about controlling what goes in. It's very difficult because these things are literally made to override what's in your brain and to put new things in there. It's amazing. How many times have I watched a video like this, and by the end of it, I've agreed more with the video than I did at the beginning? That's because they're using advanced tactics, things that I'm not good at repelling because we weren't evolved to be good at repelling this. It's trickery. That's what's going on. But it was a good video. I don't watch a whole lot of Vice videos, but this one was pretty good. It brought out a lot of cool stuff. Give it a like. It's obviously going to go gangbusters, but give it a like. It was good.